Good evening, everyone. Welcome to EduTALK. EduTALK is a weekly talk show, and it's been created. It has created by us, Dr. Barker and myself, to focus on topics in education right across the Caribbean and the rest of the world. EduTALK features a lot of people that are working in education and other aspects of life, other industries. So, and they're creating space to have discussions around topics that are related to education, related to sustaining the growth of our region. And I'm very pleased to highlight some of the work that has been happening in the Caribbean by one of our very own, Miss Samantha Telesford. I want Dr. Barker to say something before we get into the introduction of Miss Telesford. Dr. Barker, Wagwan, I hope we're getting you a good time here. You're not too overwhelmed. It's always nighttime that we interview people, and it doesn't give you a nice little wrap, especially when you're
Oh
sleeping.
no, thank you. I'm really excited
So,
to hear Samantha's story and also to feature that and then see how whatever journey she's on, through our platform, it provides an opportunity for her voice to be heard and for the issues that are matter to her. Those matters can then be, illuminated and perhaps maybe whatever solutions she's seeking, connecting with the right people and making sure that certainly our goal is to provide a space for upwardly mobile people in the Caribbean who have, a broad view of what should be happening in order to move the area forward. And so this is where we do it. So I'm really excited to hear what Samantha is doing in Grenada and how perhaps we can make some links, make some connections, and make things happen. So
yeah,
yeah, here a
totally.
little bit with Samantha.
Yeah, you're gonna enjoy the discussion, Dr. Barker. So Samantha she is in the legal field. She attended, and people who are from Grenada will know this. I have friends there as well. Anglican High School in Grenada before pursuing an associate degree in social science with a background in history, law, and sociology. She's a person with passion for becoming an attorney, and she began, I think is this the first ever law firm in the island? It started in 1921. Um, it's Louis
Yes,
Renwick,
yeah.
one of the first. Wow, 1921, Louis and Renwick. And she has her bachelor's degree in law from the University of the West Indies, UA Cave Hill campus in Barbados. Is very popular across the Caribbean. And she has her training in the legal field through Hugh. She about to get into law school, Wooden Law School in September of this year, 2024. And she is hoping also to get called to the bar. Um, she developed a keen
Is
interest
this
in
sorry
education.
to interrupt, is that in the US?
Um, n- no,
The Cuban Legal Law
no,
School.
no, no.
Oh, so you've
I
just
think,
completed your legal.
yeah,
It's Trinidad and Tobago, actually.
Oh, okay, so you're moving to a different country, and so you're
Yeah.
getting trying to get called to bar in Trinidad and Tobago.
No. Get called to the bar in Grenada as well as the wider region. Yeah. Because
Oh,
yeah,
once
okay,
you get to law school, you automatically get to call to the bar in other jurisdictions, CARICOM jurisdictions.
okay.
yeah, the Caribbean community. Um, she is she was a law Cavil in Barbados, and I'm explaining this for our international viewers. Cavil Law School is in Barbados, and she was the a society. She's a part of the vice president. She served as vice president of the Cavil Law Society and the Grenada Student Association at the same time. So that's what she has been in. So she has leadership roles in law fraternity, as it were. And she aims to grow that and contribute to significantly to the legal field seeking justice and promote a positive change in the career. Welcome to EduTalk, Samantha. I hope this is not the last time, or the first and the last time we'll see you on here, because we're hoping to do some more contribution to the field, of the legal field across the Caribbean. So welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm happy to be on this EduTalk show because it's actually my first time being on something like this in this nature and format. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to, I won't go too further because I tend to talk a lot, which is good and bad. I'll leave all the questions to you, but it's really a pleasure being here, and I'm looking forward to discussing my story and everything. Other questions you guys have.
Yeah, certainly. Dr. Barker is a true questioner, so he will he'll seek. So he's a research person, so he will seek some answers there. I want to start off. Let me start off so that Dr. Barker can chew on some of this, and then jump in. The what caused you? Is there a law school in Grenada? Why, or is not why you go to Barbados?
So essentially, there's not a law school per se in Grenada. What usually happens, especially if you're from a country like St. Vincent or Grenada, you have to do CAPE first. So in order to get into UE, you have to do CAPE. So you go to college, which we have T.A. Marshall Community College here in Grenada, and you do associate degree. And with that associate degree, you do at least two CAPE subjects. So I did, of course, as you mentioned in my bio, I did law, history, and sociology. And I did CAPE subjects in units 1 and 2, which is basically 4, in law and sociology. So with that, you get an entrance to University of the West Indies because there's no law school per se. The only university we have here in Grenada is St. George's University, which is practically for medicine. That was the whole purpose of it. It's only recently they started adding international relations, business administration, and etc. And then we also have open campus UE, which they don't offer law. So you have to go to Barbados and then go to Trinidad or Norman Manley, depending on your jurisdiction. Or some people do University of London, but I prefer to do the original way.
Oh, keep it in the Caribbean.
Yeah. So, Samantha, I think what would be of great interest to everyone is to tell us a little bit about you and your journey, and perhaps anything that has driven you to study law.
Yeah, I think you had really hit the nail on the head because now I'm gonna go to the roots of my story, which is very interesting and passionate about it. So basically a little bit about myself and what has really pushed me to where I am at now. I really came from a very poor background, growing up without, electricity and that kind of thing. And if I can recall, the first time I was able to have like things like electricity and so in my household is when I was at least in probably Form 3, which is, for my age, that's like a long time. Like people before, by that time, they had electricity and television and all those things. And apart from that, there was a lot of other struggles that came with it. I started working at 13 years old, the normal teenager, doing things, going on play dates with their friends and those kind of things. I was literally trying to work while trying to balance being a child at the same time. A lot of people see it as something that was bad, but to me, that is what drove me to where I'm at. And I continue pushing forward and, I saw a vision and I was always somebody who was interested in history. That was my favorite subject back in secondary school. So I've always loved history, whatever it is. And I just tend to grow that love for law and justice and all of those things. So that's what actually pushed me to study law and, be where I'm at right now.
So,
Yeah.
our show is EduTalk. So effectively, what you're representing here today is an example of someone who has persevered through the education system. I know you talk about your roots, but is there anyone that you can think of along your journey that in some way contributed to you being where you are now, or even perhaps helping you as you go along this journey?
Definitely, yeah, there were many people actually, but two significant persons or that I would probably three in terms of education. I remember being at my primary school level, and there was this one teacher, she died, well, may her soul rest in peace. She was someone who pushed me a lot because she noticed that I was able to read. I was a student because, like I said, I didn't have electricity or those things. So my siblings and I, we found time in reading. Like we just read books, whatever it is, storybooks, all kind of book. Even if it's not for our age range, we tend to read. So I actually developed a thing for reading. And she was one of the persons who started pushing me from a primary school level. So she got me into reading competitions and those kind of things. From a secondary level, I would say a lot of my teachers, including my principal, Miss Batty. She's no longer the principal of that school, but she also saw a potential in me. And the reason why I say that is because at my Form 1 and 2 levels of school, secondary school, I was not producing as what I should have been producing. And I think, they saw that I needed help and, they helped me along the way. I got into a lot of extracurricular activities, knowledge bowl, all of those things, as well as athletics, because I also used to run as well. So typically I was an all-rounder, and that principal, when I got to Form 4, they actually gave me head prefect going into Form 5. So, all of those things pushed me. And then again, when I got to college, my history teacher, she was, an inspiration to us. She kept pushing us. She kept telling us about stories about students who went on to university to study law and all of my people in my life onto universities from True Blueberry Resort. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
I think you hold on. I think we're kind of having a little bit of a
It's breaking.
technical difficulty here with Samantha. She might have to start telling us a little bit about when she go back to college.
Yeah,
Um,
because
until she comes back, guys, it's I suppose here's a moment where we could look at some similarities in our life in terms of obviously this is someone who is, in another country and is
Yeah.
describing a story that in many ways mirror our story. It seems like Samantha is back. Samantha, we
Yeah, yeah.
lost you when you went to college.
yeah, so can you guys hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
we can, but we lost you when you went to college. So come back to college.
Right. So on my college journey, as I mentioned, one of my inspiration, as I said, was my history teacher, because she used to give us a lot of stories of students who went on to university and, what path they take, who helped them, how they were able to get there. So that sort of pushed me and inspired me to, do that and take that route. And then finally, I was about to say that one significant person who's not necessarily in the education field, but who helps a lot in community development in terms of professional growth, education, is Mr. Ross Fielding, and he's the owner of True Blueberry Resort Grenada, which is one of the eco-friendly hotels in Grenada. So he was a big inspiration to me getting to where I'm at currently.
Okay. It's
Yeah,
very
no.
good. Very, yeah. And Barker, you're right. We have some overlapping themes there throughout not just our lives too, but a few kids who have grown up in the Caribbean. No matter what island you grew up on, you actually have you can relate to the stories. So
Yeah.
that's good. Go
I mean,
ahead, Barker.
I suppose a piece that we can see as well is that, I mean, Jamaica is a larger island, right? But what you're describing is a story that is so similar, even though we're coming from, different country experiences, a kind of similarity in terms of the Caribbean experience, when you're talking about your early, I'm sorry. So in a sense, one of the things that when we were growing up, there's a thing that they'd ask people, what do you want to become? You have already, gone to a stage where you would, be an attorney at law. So I suppose rather than asking you what you'd like to become, I suppose the question would be what problems that you're seeing within your society that you would like to solve?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that question. There are many things, but I'll narrow it down because I'll definitely say that they always tell me I'm one person. I feel like I can fix everything in the world. no matter what sector it be. And sometimes I have to come back to the reality and be like, you can't do everything because you're only one person, although you could get help from people. But two of the things I'll definitely say, which I explained to Dr. Dice, that I have a passion for is climate change, which is very, very important in mostly all sectors, whether it be transportation, um, finance, government policies and legislation, really climate change. Because I feel like through climate change, you can basically try and help with every sector of Grenada, especially considering of what's happening now and how, the world is changing and we need to start adapting to things. So definitely that area.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the area that I was focusing on LinkedIn. That's how we got connected.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, Bark, I'm telling you, she's doing a wonderful job, and there's another gentleman there we're trying to get on the program too.
okay.
But what I saw, and we can get into it here, is the Caribbean region with the climate crisis that we're in. And we have seen it's more disastrous hurricanes that are coming. And they're
Yeah,
picking up, as we see, because of global warming. And you can see it in the smaller islands worse off than the bigger one and bigger countries. So they talked to us about this organization called Canary. It's Caribbean Natural Resources Institute that
okay.
I think you have done some work with them. And funny enough, it happened, or is it a Jamaican organization, or it's based in Jamaica? Tell us
No,
a little bit about it.
no. So it's based in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
What they really do is basically like a funding and collaboration agency for climate change. So they collaborate with different NGOs and so forth, and they, do different projects under that horoscope, looking at ecosystems and those things. The
Mm.
work that I did with them is that they had a climate litigation workshop in Jamaica for lawyers across the region, looking at different climate change issues and how we can use the law to sort of navigate and seek injustice, not just on an international level, but also on a national level.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's it, Miguel, and we can talk a little bit more about it. We want to go through a few other things. The other one is the UN Environment Program that you're a part of too. There are two questions here. I want you to talk to us about with the UN Environment Program, but also if there's any connection to educational programs with all of this. So the Canary one, and as well as the UN Environment Program. And is there any link with those to schools across the region?
Okay. So basically, well, UNEP, I'm not currently doing anything right now presently with UNEP, but
Mm.
what I've done with UNEP is that when I was at UE on my final year, because I did international environmental law, they
Okay.
reached out to my lecturer and she had to choose some students to do some research. And the research was basically on an instrument that the United Nations is working on currently called the Zero Draft, which is an internationally binding agreement on plastic pollution in the marine environment and plastic pollution in general. So
Yeah.
that's the work that I've done with UNEP. It was specifically in relation to that. However, I'm currently doing some work with UNICEF, and
Yeah.
UNICEF focuses on the children aspect. So that's with Ministry of Climate Resilience and Environment here in Grenada, where they asked me to do a children forum. And the focus on the forum is basically to educate people on climate change in
Mm.
different aspects, specifically focusing on the Sustainable Development Goals, which basically focus on a lot of aspects in society. So that is the work that we're looking at in trying to, because there's not much climate change education in the syllabus or anything like that. The most you would learn is a little bit of geography here, there, or maybe agriculture science, but it doesn't really tie in the effects of climate change, what causes it, the whole aspect of it. So that is what that project will be focused on.
Yeah.
Mm.
Interesting you went into climate change education, because when you mention
Yeah.
the work and the organizations that you were with, and obviously you know, the small islands being almost the buffer to the Atlantic Ocean, and with every weather system that's formed, immediately consider whether this is coming our way or not. It's certainly something that should be of the highest priority, and not
Yeah.
only from a government level, but certainly from, as you mentioned, at the grassroots level. So I suppose my question was around what are the barriers that you're finding to having that climate change education becoming a part of the normal person on the street, understanding how small actions by them can impact, can contribute to maybe what's happening in climate, in terms of the climate and how that's impacting the island in particular. What barriers are you finding as you understand this problem a little bit more?
Okay. Just to verify, you guys are hearing me, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great, excellent. In terms of barriers, I would start to say, but a little bit of politics may have to come in here. But I'll start first by saying I think the main barrier we're having is that people, especially people from a grassroots level, if we're gonna talk about farmers and those kind of people, fisher folk, those kind of stakeholder environment, um, some of them are not really used to really what climate change is. A lot of people think when they hear climate change, they just think about the weather, hurricanes, etc., or maybe, the land being affected. But there's so many other things that comes into the picture, and a lot of them are not really used to that kind of thing. And it's only when something has happened. For instance, we recently had Hurricane Beryl. If
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, it's only when something like that happened, that's when everybody up and down starting to talk. Oh, we need to talk climate change. We need to do
Yeah.
this.
True.
But
Yeah.
they're not breaking it down to people on that level for them to understand it. And for not just to help them, but also for them to take measures to help themselves adapt to the process. So that's one aspect, one barrier. I think, we can get through it by, like, for instance, I have a project coming up where we'll be doing education campaigns, not just to schools, but to people in the grassroots community, through Rotaract and those organizations. But one of the other barriers I would say is the government, because I don't think it's, like I said, people are not taking it as seriously as they should. And when we have press conferences and those things, a lot of the times people come on and they speak about climate change. But what impact are you making? Are people understanding what is it you're talking about? Are people understanding the effects, the long-term effects, and all of those things? And for instance, we had water shortages when I came back to Grenada, and a lot of people were blaming NASA and the government and whatever. But do they know what is the cause of what is going on, and that kind of thing? So I feel it, we can do the work. Myself can do the work, the NGOs can do the work, but we need support from on a government level. Because you're not
Yeah.
going to come and talk about climate change, but yet still you're still driving a combustion engine vehicle. And then you put in 100% tax concessions on EVs and you're not driving one yourself. You have to set an example for people in the community. And I think that's one of the challenge that we in those organizations are having to sort of push climate change on a larger scale.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Go
and
on.
does climate change affect your country? Is like rising sea levels one of the concerns that is affecting like an island like Grenada, or is that?
Yeah, definitely amongst other things. So rising sea levels, things that are unenforceable. So if, for instance, rising sea levels, those are things you can't really control. And that
Right.
is a loss and damage that, Mia Motley always speak about. And then the hurricanes and those kind of things, landslides and stuff. But there's other human intervention, climate change issues. For instance, damage to ecosystems. I'm not sure if Dr. Dice is going to talk about me being a part of Grenada Land Actors. I'm not sure if you saw that. But I'm also part of Grenada Land Actors. And what we try to do is basically protect our lands and protect our ecosystems. For instance, we have a lot of developments in areas that are, for instance, wetlands, different ecosystems like mangroves and so, which are critically important, especially in a time like this. And you have the government amongst other private companies doing development in those areas, which is also in contributing to the climate change issue, right? So it's not just, natural disasters and those things.
Are you guys speaking of, yeah, I was just about to highlight it to the your current role. But is there any solid plans that are on the table now to combat, since there is the pending recovery from Hurricane Beryl? Is there any solid foundation that is being laid for conservation of land and also for property in terms of climate change? Know that the governments across the region have seen the devastation that this has caused.
Okay, so let me just clarify, what is it you're asking? Is this in the capacity of Grenada land actors or the
Yeah,
country and
and Grenada land actors and also the country on a whole. Because I'm trying to get to we're trying to understand if people are taking this more seriously, that these things are happening around them. And it's not just, as you said earlier on, it's not just when devastation occurs, then you start moving. You really have to put some measures in place. And then when this happened, disaster struck, then you know exactly where your resources are.
Yeah, definitely. Um, from a state perspective, I'll say that there have been a lot of work in terms of trying to rebuild, especially those Trial Island states which have got a lot of damage, which is Caracol, Petit Martinique, and of course the north of the island. There have been multiple efforts, a lot of regional collaborations, a lot of NGOs has come into the country, to assist on that, and they're continue to do the work and so.
Mhm,
But to be honest with you, Dr. Dice, I can't really speak in terms of conservation of lands and so forth. The most I can say is that in terms of press releases and public information, there have been some interest in terms of investors coming in to ensure that the buildings they are building is eco-friendly in terms of looking at that eco-architecture aspect and stuff like that. But
mhm.
I really can't speak to the nitty-gritty of it. I
Yeah.
think maybe when I do some further work and research, have other conversations with persons in those ministries, I can tell you better maybe next time.
Mhm,
But for Grenada land actors, I can't speak too in detail on that, but we currently have a matter before the court for 3 of our development areas, which are protected. Actually, one of them are protected by the UNESCO Ramsar Convention, which is an international convention. So that there is a critical breach of that convention.
mhm,
And there are two other developments which have been affected, which is our national dove, the Leptotilia welsii,
mhm,
in Mount Hatman. And then there's Livera, where we're trying to also protect the horseback
mhm.
turtles there. So
Oh,
it's not just one area, it's 3 areas, and we have a matter before the court. The trial is supposed to be in October. But I can't really go into detail with it
yeah, yeah.
because it's confidential stuff.
Mhm,
So we're doing our due diligence in trying to put that out there and protect and conserve the lands and stuff here in Grenada.
mhm. It's very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
No, it
Dr.
sounds like you're doing one of the things I've noticed in the way that you describe your life and your passion is the number of organizations that you have devoted your time to growing and to helping them to achieve their mission. I mean, where do you find the time?
Yeah. Mhm.
That's a very interesting question. Um, how should I explain this?
It's like the work is your life.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm a person, I'm very active from ever since. So I always go by, the more I'm active, the more happy I am. The more I do my work better. So I usually find time. I don't even know how to explain it, but I'm really good at time management. Because for instance, in my third year, which is a very hefty year of university, I was vice president of the Law Society, as well as vice president of Grenada Student Association, which is two hefty roles. And I was also a mooter, which is basically sort of like court competitions. So
Right.
I was training for a trade and environmental law moot from December to March, which was being held in Colombia earlier this year. And then I still had to manage my work. And at a point in time, I was like, Sam, are you sure you could, do all of this? But I think what really pushes me to manage my work is basically the areas that I get into is things that I love. A lot
Okay.
of the times people say, people get into things and they join all kind of organizations, for titles and positions. Not necessarily me, because the things that I get involved in is things that I love. I feel like if you don't get involved in things that you don't have a passion for, it's very hard for you to manage your time around it, because I do work late in the night. I always find time. There's a lot of time. A lot of people feel they don't have time, but you can find time to do things
Right.
that you're passionate about. Yeah.
So that's how you have balanced your commitments in that sense.
Yeah.
So I don't want to gloss over the mentioning of Hurricane Beryl, I don't want to gloss over it, and because I think obviously one of the things that you mentioned is the impact of climate change on these, and I suppose the way how the society doesn't seem interested in this conversation until there's an imminent danger.
Yeah.
But just tell us a little bit about how, what has happened from what my friend has told me about the sister island, what do you know, and what state is that in terms of since the aftermath of this?
Okay, so I can't really speak on actually, because I wasn't even here when the hurricane happened.
Okay.
When the hurricane was happening, I was literally trying to get from Jamaica to get home. And as soon as we leave Jamaica and get to Trinidad, because we had to get to Trinidad to get back here, they closed off the airport and I had to stay in Trinidad until the hurricane finished. So I was not there. But
yeah, with all the excitement.
Yeah. Which was probably a good thing because I was able to send monies to my families and data to get connection and those things.
Yeah.
But even if I was there, I still would not have experienced what Carriacou and Pitty experienced.
Right.
Because the most that happened around my area is that a little mango tree fall down on the ground and But I would definitely say that Carriacou and Pitty it was devastated based on personal stories from people who live there. It was devastated. A lot of people were without clothes, without connection for days. Some people couldn't have, getting connection with their families because there are a lot of people here on mainland who have families in Carriacou and Petit-Martinique. So they were trying to get onto them for days. And to me, that's traumatizing, knowing that you don't know if your family is dead or alive because there's persons who died due to the hurricane.
Wow.
There was about either 6 or 8 deaths in total in Grenada and the Carriacou and Petit-Martinique. So it was really devastating. And I think, they're slowly building back now, but a lot of people are still struggling. A lot of people still don't have roofs over their heads. A lot of, like I mentioned, a lot of NGOs, a lot of people went to Carriacou to look at what happened. But they can't do everything at once. I'm guessing so. So there's still a lot of people out there who struggling day to day. I know a lot of people who still doesn't have electricity actually, who's using generators, and trying to work as a community to survive and all of that. In terms of, the government building back and, that kind of thing, I can't really get down into that information because I don't want to tell you what I don't have confirmation of.
Yes.
So I won't really get down into that, but I'll just say slowly but surely they're getting there.
Yeah.
I think the thing is that we as Caribbean, family, as part of the Caribbean family, just want to ensure that we also send our thoughts and prayers as your country grapple with the impacts of this. And through this medium and others, I suppose, but certainly this one, we hope that even through your message, that might motivate some people to see how they can contribute to helping the two small islands that you you have mentioned. Now, I have two final questions for you.
Yeah.
One of them is around, in terms of your experience in the education system, in the way that it is designed. I want to have your thoughts as a person who has recently exited the system, and say how in any way you would, if you were in a position, you mentioned the politics, you don't want to get into politics, but if you were in a position to put a change, what change would you bring in to increase access to high quality education in your country? Or she freeze up.
I hope she's not gone. All right, there we go.
Mm,
But the struggle is real, Miguel,
yeah,
across the region. And the Eastern
yeah,
Caribbean, as you said earlier, is the barrier islands out there from
yeah,
against the Atlantic Ocean.
yeah. I think Samantha is back. Did you get my question, Samantha?
Yeah,
Samantha, did you get my question? You should freeze again.
let's see when she comes back and we can wind down after she
Yeah,
responds.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we maybe lost her this time.
But our
Uh,
internet has held up for a while, so that's good.
yeah, I think she's back now. Yes, Samantha, you're back?
I'm back. I hope this doesn't happen again.
It's
Well, I
okay.
mean, we can understand. This is not
Yeah.
a thing that we're here, we're waiting patiently. Did you hear my question?
No, I think you should repeat because I only heard the first part of it.
Okay, so I suppose my question was around having recently experienced the education system and the way you describe your journey through that. I know you want to stay away from the politics, but if you were in a position, like you're in a political position and you needed to make a change that would increase the access and certainly the equity in education in Grenada, what practical thing do you think needs to be done to immediately have an impact on the life chances of many people like you in having a high quality education?
That's 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 a really good question. Coming from someone who studied specifically.
We're struggling with it, the connection.
You maybe have to bring her back at another time.
Yeah.
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 That's one of the things that I experienced.
Oh, go again, Samantha. Yeah, we're losing her. What I would love, Miguel, is of a few people on from, especially from the Eastern Caribbean, to do like a panel, talk
That'd be
about
good.
these issues, the issues that are
Yeah,
happening.
because no, it's a
And it's
good thing to have.
education.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think she's coming back. But yeah, it would be a good thing to have just to broaden the conversation a little, but also to learn a little bit
yeah,
about what's happening in
yeah.
different parts of the
Because they don't
Caribbean.
really talk about, you hardly hear people from the Eastern Caribbean talk about the issues that they're having. Usually it's from Jamaica or Puerto Rico, the northern ones, and they
Yeah,
don't,
the larger islands, Cuba,
yeah,
those kind of things, but
Cuba,
the small islands are treated like
like a foster child.
yeah, like they're all one and the same in some ways when
Yeah.
they're not. They're all unique. So I don't know. Maybe we wrap the show up then, and
Yeah.
because if she's struggling, we don't know when she's gonna come back, and
Samantha?
she's gone off
Yeah,
screen.
our signal is one. Oh, she's coming back
Yes.
in. Let me see. I think she got disconnected from that one.
Maybe she disconnected to
Mm-hmm.
try.
All right, go ahead, Samantha.
I was trying to, can you guys hear me better now?
Yes.
Yeah, we're hearing you now. Yeah.
All right, excellent. So one of the practical things that I would have done, like I was trying to, before I get to that, I was trying to say it's a really good question because from going to living in Barbados and attending University of the West Indies, one of the things and one of the opportunity that I saw that Bajans had was the fact that they got free education up to a certain level.
Yeah.
Now, that can be a bad and a good thing, but I think once it's controlled in the right way, it would have a great impact. Because one of the issues that we have currently in Grenada is the fact that a lot of people struggle to get an education beyond secondary school, not even college, secondary school. And it was only recently that they allowed free education because usually you have to pay a fee of $800 each year if you attend St. Marcia Community College. And that's really the only college we have here in Grenada. I see a lot of people who have so many potential, and because they don't have the resources available, they
Right.
don't have the necessary help, they don't have people to push them, they don't go beyond secondary school and they just send into the world without no education. And to be honest, education is very, very, very important. So I think one of the things will be in assisting students with education up to at least a university level, whether it be through technical aspects. Not everybody wants to be a lawyer. Not everybody's cut out to be a lawyer. Not everybody's cut out to be an engineer. I think everybody in life has a purpose. And one of the things we have to help our young people is, give them that education, try to help them, try to push them. A lot of the issues that I also see happening is the fact that we have this idea that you have to be a particular person in society in order for you to get funding to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make sense to me. And like I said, I see, let's take for instance, let's leave the doctor and the lawyers for a minute. I see, for instance, people in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna I want to compare, but I think it's necessary here. If we're gonna take a look at people like Protege or maybe Chronics and Coffee and those people, a lot of them had the opportunity to get that musical education. There's a lot of people here who probably want to aspire to, do better in music, entertainment. There's nothing wrong with that. But what's going to help them get on an international or regional scale is the education they need. And not necessarily education in some other field, but the education that in something that they are passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's two of the issues we're having. There's not enough resources, and there's an idea or a societal mindset that you have to be a certain person in society in order for you to be successful. So that's two of the things that I would focus on.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
And I
very
said
good, Dr. Barker. Yeah.
one final question,
All
and
right,
it's
go
more.
on. Shoot it quickly. We're really over time.
Yes, my final question is a nice one as well. So, you're from Grenada. I've never been to Grenada. And I have a friend, as I said, who's always telling me to come to Grenada. You have about a minute to tell us what is it about Grenada that if you complete your life without visiting that country, you'd have missed out on it. Tell us a little bit about what it is like to live and be Grenadian.
I'm trying to think, what is it that person may have tell you that you wouldn't forget to ask a Grenadian that question. I think one of the things, I don't want to sound biased, but I think one of the things would be that we're a friendly people, set of people by nature. So one grassroots example is if you come to Grenada to my household now, and let's say I only have 2 bedrooms in my house, my mom would probably sleep on the floor and let you sleep on the bed. give you that kind of hospitality treatment that you won't just get from anywhere else. And the whole feeling of doing tours, you're not just getting that experience in one place, or because that person is your friend, you get there and they treat you that way. Everybody treats you that way. So no matter where you go in Grenada, you would have an excellent experience because people will treat you like family. As I don't know what is it about us, but it's just the love from our heart, and making sure that people feel at home. I think that's what it is, really. There's so many other things for you to experience, but it's really just the love and the hospitality about us, really and truly. So
Yeah,
that should say a lot.
yeah.
The people, the
The
people.
people.
Yes,
Thank you very
definitely.
much, Marga. That's a good question. Thank you very much, Samantha, for coming on and tackling the issues of connection and weathering the storm is very good. We actually enjoy the conversation, and I'm sure other people have done so and will in the future for those who will watch again and again. We're gonna try to get you back on to talk about the connections that can be made across the Caribbean region. For CARICOM to be really a community, a Caribbean community that they share resources and get people, as you said, the people who really need help. Young people who really need help with resources, including just education. It can be shared across, just like what we're doing now here with video calling and talking to different people and sharing ideas and see if we can uplift people. It's the same thing. It's not hard, like in the past when we didn't have so much connection. We know the airfare is very difficult between islands, but a simple video call and sharing resources that way is a plus, is a big plus.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you so much for being on. And Dr. Barker, as usual, thank you so much for sharing the platform with me.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. It was great meeting you, Samantha, and hopefully we'll see you on one of our panels at some point. And I'm
Yes.
sure, continue to be the advocate that you are, continue to be an example, and for everyone and I know there are a lot of people who have believed in you and
Yep.
seen you delivering on that promise. And I think that's something that, I'm hoping you're making your family proud, making yourself proud, doing what you're doing. You have two champions right here
Mm.
behind you, constantly saying that you can do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just wishing you all the best for a very, 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 very bright future ahead.
Mm.
So really a pleasure meeting you. And I
Yeah.
am inspired just hearing how well and what you've been willing to give just simply in service of the earth and the future. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you so much, Parker. I'd really like to express how happy I was. I enjoyed all the questions. I would a pleasure being on here and actually getting to share my story, because not all the time I do in my work I get to actually share my story, or actually the time to share it
yes.
on EduTALK platform, which is very important. So it was definitely a pleasure being here. And I look forward to, doing any work. I'm very open to doing any work with you guys,
Mhm.
with respect to the education sector or other aspects.
Yeah, sure. We're gonna get you back on here and get another person in parts of the Caribbean to talk about the CARICOM community. It's very important that you get it. I think we need to highlight that part too. Thank you so much. We're gonna be in touch. We'll talk again super soon. Thank you, viewers. Thank you. You can visit our website at edusolutionsintl.org. That's edusolutionsintl.org. Or you can just Google us, Education Solutions International. That's Education Solutions International. What good, everybody? Have a great week. And I think it's Jamaica's independence. So happy independence, everybody.
oh
Happy
yeah,
independence. Yeah. And I hope that we will be totally free one day because we're still having a governor general. Okay. Bye, everybody. Walk good.
Okay.